Hi everyone, today I'm going to be doing some seed starting and also potting up for the fall garden. I have some more varieties that I want to start. I did a batch of seedlings that I started I think 1 month ago, and I'll show you how those are doing, and today I'm going to pot those up while I start some new stuff as well. This is going to be the last batch of seedlings for the entire year, which is a very bittersweet thing. I've probably started thousands of plants this year from seed, and a lot of them have done really well, so that's such a great thing. So it will be a little bit of a relief to not have to start seeds anymore for the year, but it's also a little bit sad because that always means that the season is ending soon and it'll be so sad to see it go. So first let me show you how the seedlings that I planted last time are doing. Here are all the cabbages and broccolis that I planted last time. So here it says I planted them June 24th. Today is maybe July 24th, something like that. So it's been just about a month. A lot of them have at least 2 sets of true leaves, working on their third ones. I've noticed a little bit of yellowing of leaves, so I have fertilized them with very, very diluted fish fertilizer, I think twice, just to keep them going because they are actually a little bit overdue for a potting up. You can see their roots are kind of going crazy down there. I just haven't gotten out there to do it because it's been too hot, but today it's finally a little bit cool, so I thought it would be a great day to do that. Sorry if you hear a lot of car noise though, it is almost rush hour, so I guess a lot of people are driving home now. But I tried to do this earlier and of course it started raining, as it has been every time I try to do something outside this year. So yeah, now is the time that we're gonna do it because it's gonna rain some more tonight, so I'm just trying to grab this rain-free moment. So next, let me just go over the varieties that I'm going to be starting today. It's going to be mostly like leafy greens. First 2 that I'm starting are some Asian greens. I have some bok choy. This is a standard green bok choy. We grew a lot of it this spring and it was a success. And I want to do another batch of it this fall. And the other Asian green is called tat soy. I've given this like 1 shot before, but I think I tried to grow it like inside our greenhouse or something, and this time I'm just gonna grow it outside in our raised beds. And the tat soy is supposed to be a really cold tolerant green, so I'm gonna do a lot of those 2. I'm also going to be trying this Mizuna, which was a free seed that I received in my last order. So I haven't tried this before, but I am excited to try it. It's a Japanese green, and I think it's kind of like mustardy. Mustardy greens are not usually our favorite because they do have like that bitter taste, but I know they are good for you and I like to try and grow different things. So I'm gonna grow a little bit of that. Next I have a few lettuces. First I have a Merlot lettuce. This was another free seed. It looks really pretty with those frilly red leaves. Then I have Paris Island Cause, which is like a romaine style lettuce. I do grow this one pretty frequently. It's just a really nice standard lettuce. Another one that is pretty popular to grow is this black seeded Simpson. I don't think I've ever grown this like just on its own, but it comes in a lot of like salad mixes, so I'm sure I've had it before, just I haven't gotten a whole packet of that. So those are 3 different kinds. I also have a packet of just like mixed greens, so those will have all different kinds. It's actually kind of funny, the 3 lettuces that are in here look just like the lettuces that I just showed you that I'm going to plant separately. Next I have a few different kinds of kale. The one I'm most excited for is a new to me variety. This is Dazzling Blue Kale, and it's a lacinato type kale, but you can see it has really beautiful colors. They're kind of like purpley blue. I think it's going to be so beautiful and also just really delicious. Then I also have Nero di Toscana cabbage, which is dinosaur or lacinato kale, and I really like this variety. I like the texture of it and it has really good flavor as well. And then the third variety of kale I'm growing is called Siberian kale. I've grown this last year and it does really well. Then I'm also going to be planting some collards, which are another very cold hardy green. We're kind of in the south, so collards are kind of a staple of the diet and we also just really love them. And the packet's not pretty, so there's not much to show you, but just standard. The packet is kind of faded, so I can't read it, but it's like Georgia something collards. Pretty standard variety. And lastly, for the seed starting, I am also going to be starting some of these Cylindra beets. I started some of these last month, but I think I let the pots dry out in the sun, so they're pretty much dead. So I'm going to be starting these again. Beets do pretty well as far as root vegetables go for seed starting and then transplanting out. I don't do that for a lot of root vegetables, but beets are one where they do okay transplanted. In addition to those varieties that I'm starting from seed today, I also pulled out some more packets that I'm just going to keep nearby to start direct sowing in the garden. This is one of them that I pulled out that I'm going to see if I have space in the garden for today. It is a spinach, and I'm also going to start direct sowing maybe another round of carrots and also smaller radishes. So in last month's video where I showed you the seeds that I was starting, all those cabbages and broccolis, I also showed some seeds that I pulled out to direct sow. So I pulled out some winter radishes and turnips, and now that a month has passed, it's also time to start planting those smaller radishes. So things like French breakfast, scarlet globe, those kind of smaller diameter radishes, now is a good time to start getting them on our radar. And just for reference, our last frost day is the end of October. I don't remember the exact date. It's either October 24th or 27th. So look up your last frost day and see how you compare. So all of these things that I'm showing you today are what I'm starting, and it's a good time for our last frost day, but that might not be true for you. So just look that information up and see where you fall in terms of timeline. So I've pretty much already gotten my seed starting trays set up and filled with soil. I have two 72 cell trays here for the seeds I'm starting today. And this one is going to be half bok choy and half tot soy. So I'm going to be a little risky and not label this tray because it's just two things, and I think I will be able to tell the difference. I am going to label for this tray because this is going to hold the majority of things that I'm starting today, and there are going to be lots of different varieties, so I want to keep those separated. I don't really feel like dealing with seed tags today because I don't have any fresh ones, and I don't feel like cleaning up any old ones. So what I'm going to do is just take some masking tape and run it along the side of my seed starting tray, and then I'm just going to write the varieties in Sharpie. And since I'm doing at least a whole row of each variety, that should be fine because I just need to label the row. I'm not labeling like individual pots. And what I like to do the day before I know I'm going to be seed starting is I will just write out a list of everything I want to start and like how many rows in the tray I have and how many rows I need. It just makes it a little bit easier for me to plan out. So these two are going to go in their own tray, so I know there will be 36 of each. Then for my other tray, which is going to have all of these different things, I just break it up into a number of rows, and that way I can kind of just like number each row. And you can see some of these things I'm going to do 2 rows and some are just going to be just 1, just depending on how much I think we're going to use. So now it's going to be pretty easy since I already mostly prepped out these trays. I just have to pop those seeds in. Oh, I also wanted to show you, I forgot when I was showing the seedlings, these are my Brussel Sprouts seedlings. I'm not going to pot these up today. They're already in 2-inch pots. These were planted I think 2 weeks before all the seedlings in here, so they're a little bit bigger. I just brought them out here today because I need to start hardening them off to be planted outside because they really should get in the ground pretty soon. And since it's a nice overcast, cool moment right now, I thought it would be a good time for them to just be outside. And I'm gonna have to do this with all of these seedlings as well. They're still going to stay inside the house, protected from the extreme heat, but it is getting to the point where I need to start hardening them off. So anytime we have like a mild day or like a cloudy day, I'll bring them out for a few hours just so that they don't get shocked, especially when it's like the middle of summer. Because if you bring these fresh seedlings right out, they'll kind of scorch. You can see on some of these leaves, actually, I might have left them out in the sun for a little bit. Like maybe it was cloudy and the sun came out and you can see the leaves have started to burn. So you don't want to completely put them out in like 12 hours of full sunlight because that will kill your seedlings. of these new seeds, it's just going to be the standard seed starting procedure. I have filled my pots with just regular potting soil, and I am just making a little bit of a dimple in each of these cells and then placing 2 or 3 seeds. That's what I'm aiming for. And I'm going to do this for every single variety. For lettuce, you can definitely oversow a little bit if you want to harvest your lettuce as baby greens, but for all of the lettuce that I'm starting today, I want them to form larger heads, so I am trying to do just a few seeds for each of those. And then in addition to the lettuce that I'm starting in these trays, I also like to direct sow some in the garden, and I will direct sow it very thickly so that I will have one section of the garden where I have lettuce for baby greens and another section where I have lettuce for larger heads. These are the beet seeds, and I always think beet seeds just look so cool. Beet seeds are actually a cluster of several seeds, so you might get a lot of seedlings in each cell if you pop multiple seeds in there. But I do Charles Dowding's multi-sowing method where I will plant 3 or 4 beets together. So I'll probably leave a few seedlings for each of the cells, and then for most everything else, after a couple of weeks when everything has germinated, I will thin down to 1 or 2 plants. In my last seed starting video, somebody left a comment asking why these seeds have to be started indoors before going outside, and I thought that was a really great question that maybe I haven't covered before. So there are a few reasons why I do it this way. The first is that the garden at this point is usually really full of things that you've planted in the spring and summer, and although things are starting to die back and we're ripping them out to make space, there still is a lot of stuff that needs a few more weeks in there, so starting all of these inside buys you a little bit of time while you're harvesting those crops, maybe removing dead plants and then re-prepping your bed, maybe adding more compost before you plant new things into the garden again. The other reasons are mostly because it is the middle of the summer and it's very hot and very dry, and it can be hard to start seedlings outdoors. You have to keep the soil moist consistently in order for them to germinate, and a lot of these cold weather things also don't like the heat very much, so you're buying yourself again another few weeks so that the weather can kind of cool off, and hopefully by that time the temperatures will drop a little bit and these seedlings will be a lot happier. And the reason I'm doing this batch of seedlings a month after I started all of those cabbage and broccoli seedlings is simply because these seedlings grow a lot faster. They don't need quite as much time to develop those first few sets of leaves before they're ready to go out. So I think that these will probably be ready in 3 to 4 weeks, while the cabbage and broccoli take something closer to like 5 or 6 weeks. Now that all of the new seeds have been planted, we have to pot up the existing seedlings, and each of these is going to go into a new 2-inch pot. You can see that these seedlings have a nice healthy root system and are definitely ready to be potted up. And Aaron had just finished with his work for the day, so he came out to help me, so everything was able to go much quicker, which was really nice. I've had these little 2-inch pots for several years now. They're from Bootstrap Farmer, and I would highly recommend them. They're a really nice size for a lot of plants, especially after you have started them in a seed starting tray and need something just a little bit bigger to tide them over before you transplant into the garden, or for starting larger things like zucchini. I really like how they're very thick, sturdy plastic, so they will last you many years. Alright, so we are all finished. We have our 2 new trays of those seeds that we started today. All of our different kales, lettuces, etc. in this first tray. This tray has our bok choy and pat soy. And then we have potted up all of those seedlings. And they were just over 1 tray before. Now they are 2 trays since the pots are bigger, which is why I usually like to start in the 72 cell trays because it does save space. But then sometimes you do have to go through the step of potting them up about a month later. So these guys need to be hardened off, like I said, but really they should be going into the garden in a couple of weeks. We do have a few empty spaces where they can go, and we are starting to rip out a lot of things in the garden right now. So there will be more space for all of these once they are properly hardened off. Yeah, they're looking really good. I think they're going to do even better with a little bit more space and new soil over the next couple of weeks. So there we have it, the last seed starting session of the year. And it's pretty crazy that the season is almost ending. It really feels like it just started. This year has gone by so fast. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again in the next one. Aaron's out there harvesting right now.